Throughout history, no artifact has captured the human imagination like the Holy Grail. Said to grant eternal life and divine wisdom, it has driven kings, knights and seekers to risk everything in pursuit of its power. Yet the Grail remains elusive, a legend wrapped in riddles, its true nature obscured by centuries of myth and misdirection. Is it a cup, a stone, a platter, or something far more profound and dangerous? Tonight we peel back the layers of legend to uncover a truth so revolutionary, it threatened to upend the foundations of Western civilization. This is MystiChrono, the real story of the Holy Grail. The Grail legend was born not in ancient Judea, but in medieval Europe's courts and monasteries. Poets like Chrétien de Troyes and Wolfram von Eschenbach described a vessel of immense power, sometimes a cup, sometimes a stone, sometimes a platter. The Grail's form shifted, blending pagan myth with Christian allegory, hinting at a secret too dangerous to name. Knights like Galahad and Percival sought it, but their quests were metaphors, codes hiding a deeper truth. The promise of immortality, the wounded king, the wasteland. These were not just stories, but veiled references to a secret inheritance. The Grail legends were not the origin but the first great act of concealment. While the world searched for a relic, the real Grail was hidden in plain sight, protected by those who understood its true meaning. The tales of chivalry and magic were a smokescreen, crafted to ensure the survival of a secret born centuries earlier. The Grail was not a myth for entertainment, but a truth that had to be hidden from the powerful. A truth that, if revealed, would rewrite history. The Grail legend centers on the Last Supper, where Jesus shares a cup with his disciples. For centuries, the church claimed this cup was the Holy Grail, the ultimate relic. Yet the Gospels and early church writings are silent about its preservation. The Grail only appears centuries later, not as a sacred relic, but as the subject of romantic fiction. If the cup were so important, why did the Vatican not claim it from the start? Perhaps because the true Grail was not a cup at all, but a secret that threatened the church's authority. The Crusades and the actions of the Knights Templar suggest a search for knowledge, not objects. The church's narrative of the Grail as a simple cup may have been a calculated distraction, a way to control a story that could undermine its power. The real Grail was not a relic to be worshipped, but a truth to be buried. To grasp the Grail's true nature, we must revisit the story of Christ through suppressed texts, the Gnostic Gospels. Discovered at Nag Hammadi, these texts reveal Mary Magdalene as Jesus' closest confidant, perhaps even his wife. The Gospel of Philip calls her his companion, a term often meaning spouse. In the first century Jewish context, marriage was expected for a rabbi. If Mary was his wife, the Last Supper becomes a family gathering, and the possibility of children emerges. The Gnostic texts hint at a secret. Jesus may have had a child, a direct heir. The Grail legends speak of a vessel carrying Christ's blood, but the ultimate vessel of a bloodline is not a cup, it's the womb. Mary Magdalene herself becomes the living Grail, carrying the blood of Christ within her. The true Grail is not an object, but a lineage, a child, a living continuation of Jesus' bloodline. This is the forbidden truth, the secret that could unravel the very fabric of institutional Christianity. The Church's greatest fear was not a lost relic, but a living heir. The Grail was a family, not a cup. Everything connects. The Merovingian kings, Cathar priests, secret societies like the Priory of Sion, each claimed connection to a holy dynasty. The oldest power on earth is not a kingdom, it is a family. So, where is the Grail? The answer: not locked away, not buried in stone. It lives. Every descendant is a chapter in a story the world was never told. History's greatest treasure is not an object, but a person. The secret was hidden in plain sight, in the very name of the Grail. Early French romances called it Saint Grail or Holy Grail, but shift the space. Sang Real, royal blood. The Grail was never about a cup, but about a bloodline. The poets embedded this code in their stories, protecting a dangerous secret. The quest for the Grail was the quest to protect the Sang Real, the royal bloodline of Christ. Immortality was not for one person, but for a family's legacy. The wounded king and the wasteland were metaphors for a hidden bloodline and a world cut off from its true roots. The Church feared the Grail because it represented a rival claim to spiritual authority. The legend was a brilliant act of subversion, passed down in stories and songs. While the world searched for a cup, the guardians protected a family. The real Grail was a living legacy, not a relic. In 1119, 9 knights formed the Knights Templar, supposedly to protect pilgrims in Jerusalem, but their true mission may have been to excavate the Temple Mount, seeking hidden knowledge. For 9 years, they searched beneath Solomon's temple, possibly uncovering documents about Jesus' marriage and bloodline. Armed with this secret, the Templars rose to immense power, becoming Europe's most influential order. Their sudden wealth and influence suggest they held a secret the Vatican could not ignore. The Templars became guardians of the Grail, not a cup, but the bloodline and its proof. Their network protected the descendants of Jesus, believed to have established a hidden dynasty in Europe. The Templar cross symbolized their dual allegiance, to the church publicly, to the secret bloodline privately. They were the keepers of a secret that could change the world. The Grail was a family, and the Templars its silent protectors. The Vatican's power rested on apostolic succession. The claim that the Pope is Christ's sole representative on earth, a living descendant of Jesus, would shatter this foundation, shifting faith from institution to family. The Church's authority, wealth, and influence would collapse. The Grail's truth was an existential threat, not a theological debate. Heretical groups like the Cathars were persecuted for harboring this knowledge. The Albigensian Crusade was a brutal campaign to erase the secret. The Vatican's war was not for a relic, but to suppress a bloodline. The Grail was a ticking time bomb they desperately needed to defuse. For 2 centuries, the Templars thrived, until King Philip IV of France and Pope Clement V conspired to destroy them. On Friday, October 13, 1307, Templars across France were arrested, tortured, and accused of heresy. Their order was dissolved, their leaders executed. But their greatest treasures and secrets vanished. The Templar fleet disappeared, and with it, the proof of the Sang Real. Surviving Templars scattered, some to Scotland, others to Portugal, taking the secret with them. The Grail, the living legacy, slipped deeper into the shadows. The Templars' physical order was destroyed, but their mission endured. The bloodline they protected survived, hidden from history. The story faded into legend, but the secret lived on. The Grail was safe, but more elusive than ever. For 2 millennia we've searched for a relic, but the Grail was never an object. It is a bloodline, a living legacy, not a thing to be found, but a family to be protected. The guardians of the Grail were shepherds, not treasure hunters. The bloodline of Christ may still flow today, hidden in plain sight. The greatest mystery in history is not over. It's all around us waiting to be revealed. This is MystiChrono, where the truth is just beginning. Subscribe, the next secret may already be in your blood.